we also have the different risk profiles. So we have conservative, aggressive, and moderate, depending on what the client is indicating.
Okay, so you understand the client first and then you make a decision.
Yes. Our PMS accounts, which have completely outperformed the ones that are.
Welcome to part 2 of our exclusive podcast on PMS. Today, I'm joined again by Mr. Rajat Bijur, Head of PMS at Mirae Asset Sharekhan, as we continue breaking down how you should approach PMS in the real world. Now, there are so many options when it comes to PMS, right? You mentioned there are thematic PMSs, multi-asset, etc. Now, how should an investor select what is good for them? What exact factors should they look for when they're trying to evaluate what PMS suits them?
So I think one should definitely look at the risk profiling here.
Yes.
That's really the main thing, because typically thematic investing carries a higher risk, primarily because your multi-asset as well as your flexi cap kind of investing has a higher diversification, thus lowering the risk. Now, when you're entering a particular sector, let's say I'm entering an IT sector only, or it's an IT sector focused PMS.
Yes.
Now, prior to December of last year, those funds were delivering supernormal returns. But post January, once the AI wave started coming in, the returns from those funds have completely crashed.
Oh, okay.
So that's a good example of how maybe one should be careful when selecting thematic investments, because there's continuous evolution happening in most sectors.
Right.
So I think that's something one should really be careful of.
Okay, and so apart from risk profile, when they're actually trying to pick a good PMS, what other factors do you think they should look for?
So definitely, I think one other factor that they should probably, and these are probable side factors that one should evaluate. Definitely, try and meet up or see if you can meet up with the fund manager.
Okay.
Or at least gauge, the thought process of the fund manager.
Right.
If it aligns with your own beliefs, in what you're doing or what you're investing. Also, try and see the fund track record of the institution that is sponsoring the fund.
Okay.
I think those things also carry a high degree of importance. Typically, institutions that have experience or which have a wide network globally tend to do better when they're, kind of driving PMS products, because there's a lot of experience and global experience also that comes with it.
Okay, so the background and the track record matters in a nutshell.
Exactly, yeah.
Right. So now, can you tell me more about our in-house PMS Prime Picks?
So so our basically our flagship PMS is Prime Picks, which as you all know, it's been in existence since around 2018. So we have a substantial track record. The product design is in such a way that basically it's divided into two buckets. So we have alpha and quality. Alpha bucket basically looks at stocks that are in either into a special situations mode, or where the fund manager believes that there could be some kind of supernormal return that could be derived in a shorter period of time.
Oh, okay.
Okay. The quality bucket, on the other hand, looks at the theme more from a multi-year perspective.
Okay.
So it's typically stocks that are stable, your blue chip stocks, stocks that can derive CAGR on a yearly basis, and that compounding effect can be brought into picture.
Okay.
So that's the design, and within that we also have three different risk profiles. So we have conservative, aggressive, and moderate. So depending on what the client is indicating in terms of, so we have a scoring mechanism. So depending on what the client is indicating, we would be ideally allocating that client to alpha, quality, or a mixture of both.
Okay, so you understand the client first and then you make a decision.
Yes.
All right, so that's very important because it's kind of customized over here.
Exactly.
Right. So alpha is meant for a little more aggressive investor?
Exactly. Your understanding is correct.
Okay, right. So now what kind of investor should definitely consider PMS right now if they want to start investing?
So I think I would suggest probably even the newer generation folks, because I think one of the perceptions that most people have is that people towards a middle age ideally would invest. But I think PMS as a product is pretty much universal.
Okay.
Anyone who meets the net worth criteria and who wants to invest in a product should probably select this, primarily because you're getting exposure to, first of all, exposure to the expertise of people who are managing it.
Yes.
Second is the customized way of picking stocks. And the way the product design is, which will basically in the long run it will bring in supernormal returns.
All right. Okay. So now, can you tell us more about the risks behind this product so that people can just get a better understanding of the full picture?
So obviously, the biggest risk behind any product of this nature is the market risk.
Right.
Because it all depends. A lot, in fact, depends on how the market is moving. To that extent, we as fund managers do try to kind of mitigate those risks by either diversifying the portfolio enough or by selecting sectors that have a poor correlation with each other.
Okay.
One other way could be also by adding metals, maybe gold ETFs or silver ETFs to the portfolio.
Right.
So that is how we kind of try and mitigate, but there will always be a market risk.
Okay.
The second risk that comes is sometimes underlying portfolio companies facing some kind of headwinds. And a good example of that right now is IT, where even the best of names and the best of PMSs are having a problem kind of justifying some of their purchases.
Right.
So I think these are probable, I would say, more structural problems that come in terms of risk.
Okay.
So those are the ones I think investors should definitely recognize and understand. And to a good extent, I think these are problems even faced by mutual funds. It's
Yes.
not just PMSs. So I think it kind of goes both ways there.
Yes. So now if somebody wants to start a PMS investment today, what's the first practical step that they can take? And do you have any advice for them, some final pieces of advice for people who want to start their PMS?
Yeah. So I think like we were discussing earlier, I think a prospective investor today should probably first evaluate what is the goal for which they're investing.
Yes.
Because if typically I would advise people that, have a 5-year view. Just to give a perspective, our PMS accounts, which are probably people have been holding for 3 years or more, or even 5 years or more, have completely outperformed the ones that are in the short term.
Okay.
And the reason for that is typically some of these have been entered at lower valuations, because obviously valuations in the maybe over the longer term will obviously be lower if you go back in history. As against those that were invested a year back. So typically, and what we have seen in some cases is people coming back and saying that we would want to exit after a year.
Okay.
We discourage that because, like a mutual fund as well, it's the same behavior. We would want investors staying over the longer term. So I think that investment planning is very, very important for investors when they're getting into PMSs, much more than mutual funds.
Oh, right, because it's a higher ticket size as well, and it's a relatively customized portfolio.
Exactly.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was a really fruitful conversation. I really enjoyed having you here in our podcast today.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Investment in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.